Yo, yo, what's going on? All right, so brand new week, brand new market update. Let's start with the DXY as usual. So the macro has remained bearish. The DXY has not moved too much since last week. We're still within this range right here. We got 21 days left for the 6-month candle to close, 21 days and 4 hours. So there's a 99.9% chance this is going to close bearish. When we're taking a look at the zones that we can head towards to next, DXY can head towards 95 to 96 next. That can happen before the end of June, or we can just close somewhere over here, and then July opens with some upside movement over here to retest some of these areas, and then a continuation back to the downside. But there's nothing here telling me that a bottom is in just yet. This is clearly bearish, and the trend will continue to the downside. So this is good for crypto. We just gotta ride this trend. The trend is your friend at the end of the day. So just stick to that trend, and we still have a lot of space to cover. Total one. Total one is looking great. The trend is looking strong. This is why you want to focus on that macro trend at all times. These little mini bear traps, they fool people all the time. They think just because price is right here, that price is just gonna fall back down. They see all this space, but they don't understand the macro. So the macro is clearly still in control. The Bulls are still in control. This was like a more extended bear trap, but it worked flawlessly because a lot of people were bearish. And then look, now they're silent or they're calling something. But this is clearly still bullish. The total one is looking great. Should be making a new all-time high once again. Likely it can happen before the end of this month. It is possible. The next few weeks are lining up for some good movement. So that is a possibility, but we'll see what we could get in the next few weeks. Total two, it's gonna follow total one for the most part, slightly behind, but still macro is bullish. So this just came back down to a demand zone and then it's going doing the continuation is gonna make a new all-time high as well. And then total three, same thing. This one has already made a new all-time high with a wick. We got this retracement, and now we're getting this continuation. So everything's lining up to finally head into price discovery in the coming months for sure. So we just got to stick to this trend. Nothing is bearish about these charts. We're going to the upside. Once we head into price discovery, things will start to make a lot more sense. It'll look nice and clear. But that's when we're likely gonna be looking to start getting out. Oh, so we still got tons of time. 6 months and 22 days is a lot of time. That's basically how much time we have left in 2025 at this point. All right, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is on a tear right now, still. It's about to make another all-time high pretty soon. The past few days, look, we got this little bear trap over here and liquidity grab. It basically just swept these lows. Look, over here, it didn't come and sweep these lows right here. Instead, it just created this demand zone and continued. In this case, it didn't create the demand zone right here as it did right here. And instead, it swept the low. But what was also going on over here, Trump and Elon were beefing on Twitter. So like, isn't it crazy how Elon or Trump can make a tweet and the market starts reacting to it, sweeping lows and whatnot? It's funny because that just shows that, things sometimes are orchestrated to create fear. And I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh my God, look at all this space over here. The market's just about to dump. And look, they got liquidity and the market's continuing higher. It's a game. So a lot of this stuff is in my opinion, orchestrated. It's just a theater at this point. We're just watching a show. So we already know the macro is bullish. We just got to stick to that game plan. And yeah, Bitcoin should be headed towards in the short term, 120K is up next. And then we'll see how we react to this level. More than likely, it is possible that it just pushes through. But for now, we're just gonna take it one step at a time. And we'll see how strong the momentum can get once we're at these areas over here. Because I do believe that it's about to get very aggressive because I think we still got to hit at least 180K. And look, we're at 108. So it's about to get aggressive. And you just got to ride the wave, ride the wave. All right, ETH. So ETH has been holding up pretty well as well. As you guys saw, it didn't get that much of a retracement when the rest of the market was getting some action when they were beefing on Twitter last week. Um, let's see. So this is headed towards in the short term. I believe once we head over here, we'll at 3,100 or 3,200, we'll probably get a little bit of a retracement once again, retest these areas, and then a continuation. So that's what I could see based off the data on the chart. But yeah, this is definitely bullish. And the fact that we got just this little consolidation period here after pushing out of this area is a clear signal that this is bullish and ETH is ready to turn up pretty soon. And then we'll get a new all-time high finally, because it did not want to make an all-time high last time. We actually, respected the supply zone, and then they created this huge bear trap. So ETH definitely got you know, liquidated. They did some crazy liquidity grabs on ETH for sure. But hey, whoever controls this market, they wanted some ETH. They wanted some cheap ETH. So they got their cheap ETH. That's just how it is. We're just players in this game. We don't do much but adapt to what's going on. But regardless, the macro still is bullish. So this is going to the upside still. All right, XRP. XRP is looking good. So we did get a little bit of a retracement last week. Where were we last week? It was June 2nd. So right here. So we are right here. Yeah, I did mention that I didn't like how we hadn't swept this low last week, and then we swept the low. So yeah, this definitely looks like that, it was just a liquidity grab and then a continuation back to the upside. So um once again, macro is bullish. This bottom is in, we already knew that. We're just gonna stick to this overall trend. In the short term, the next target is gonna be $3 in the short term. But we're just gonna take it one step at a time because then we're gonna get a new all-time high. And I believe we should be hitting $4. Can it still happen this quarter? Yes, is we have 3 weeks left. We can easily still get it. We can still at least get a, $3 to $4 this by the end of June. Is it possible? Yes, but is it guaranteed? No. If not, if it doesn't happen, then it's likely going to happen next quarter, but it's lining up for it because what we can do this quarter within the next 3 weeks is probably just hit this area, then probably open up the new quarter right here in the new 6 month candle and come back down here and then start pushing in the summertime. That some type of news going to drop or something. That's what is also a possibility. So just, be aware of that. But we're definitely looking pretty decent over here. All right, Syrup. So Syrup has been holding up extremely well. They just keep announcing partnerships and they're just doing good business. Like they're actually they did another buyback. So it's just great fundamental aspects with Syrup and the technicals look great. So in the short term, this is headed towards 70 cents. Um, and then we'll see. We'll probably cool down here again the same way we cool down here. Look, we broke this high. We got a little retracement. We might hit the 70 cent range. We might even go up to like 75. And then we might come back down to 53, 50, or even 50. That's just how the market works. If you're gonna try to trade all of these little moves, go, that's up to you. But we're playing the way you make the big money is to play the bigger picture. And that's why we are buying aggressively down here. Everybody should be in profit on syrup. If you're not in profit on syrup, you probably just started buying over here. But everybody should be in profit on syrup for sure. Should be in profit. So, your average should have easily been I say between 10 and 20 cents. That's a great range. Look, you're already over nearly up 100% at a minimum. So, yeah, this is definitely looking great and it's gearing up for a strong second half of 2025. We had a nice first half. It was pretty quiet and then it turned up and the second half can be even better. So we'll see. All right, essay check. So last week I actually did mention that we can sweep this low. That's what it was looking like. Very similar to what it did where? Over here. Same thing. Very, very similar. Look, they just do this little drop to a demand zone and a continuation. drop to a demand zone, continuation. So this is clearly on a macro bullish trend, and it's definitely gearing up for another move. Finally, we made the one high, the second high, and now we're gearing up for another big run. That's what I'm seeing personally. I'm seeing another big run is coming. To where? Well, this is lining up to at least 5 cents, and that makes sense because that's the new all-time high on the SHX chart. So this can it happen in the next 3 weeks? In crypto, you never know. I don't think it's going to happen in the next 3 weeks, but you never know. But I do believe next quarter it is possible. But we definitely do want to see hit SHX hit 5 cents soon because the sooner it hits it, the more upside potential we possibly have. So if we don't hit five, if we hit 5 cents, like let's say in September, then I mean we still got time to hit 19 cents, but we're not gonna see like 50, anywhere up here. So it all depends on how quickly we can break this all-time high because as you guys have all seen, when prices break an all-time high, more than likely they're gonna just range sideways on the chart. So syrup, for example, look, it ranged sideways for a couple weeks. This is what we want to see from now on. Excuse me, we are stepping into a territory where the market is going to speed things up now. Yes, we went through, all these extended bear traps like this and the one on Bitcoin. I consider these extended bear traps, and Bitcoin did it twice, one and two. And that's why I think now it's time to turn it up. So because it's had enough. It's had enough of these extended bear traps. And they got enough people fooled, and now we're stepping into a territory where it's time to turn things back up. So that's why I believe things are about to turn up pretty soon, within the next, if it's either the next few weeks or quarter 3 for sure. Something has to come at this point. Like we don't have much. It already did, all this consolidation and whatnot. It's time for them to start, ramping things up just a bit. And then at the end of the year, they ramp it up for that close of the yearly candle. So, like look, the 2025 yearly candle low on SHX is where, let's see, is right here. So it's still slightly bearish, but the yearly low is at 0.006291. 6 month, still bearish a bit too, but the yearly low is right here. And it's already gearing back up. So this can easily close off another 6 month bullish candle. And if you guys remember, when did this one end up going bullish? And look, it closed off bullish. It was bearish almost the entire last 6 months. And let's see when it started shifting bullish. And look at that, November. So you guys see how the market loves to steer you along until the end of a candle. And then look, the last 2 months is when things turned up. And then they made us go sideways again. And now we have another 6 month candle opening in a few weeks. So yeah, SHX is looking great. Let's see if this momentum can continue. Velo's been looking great too. Uh, Reacting pretty well to these areas. I've been stacking Velo over here. I really have. So, it's literally just accumulating in a demand zone. Literally just accumulating. So, I believe we should push out of here, probably hit this area, retrace a bit, and then, I believe some type of news is gonna come out that's gonna make this just go crazy. That's what I believe. But, this is still a great spot to add. I might add just a bit more before we run, but yeah, this is definitely in an accumulation phase right here. All right. Flare, same thing, just in an accumulation phase. Hit the zone, retraced, and what comes after that? Push through. And look, if you guys see what I have on Velo, it's literally the same thing. I believe we'll hit that zone, retrace a bit, and push through. Well, Flare is already a step ahead. It hit it, it retraced, and then we're gonna go through. That's just how the markets work. That's how the algorithms work. So that's what I believe is coming next with Flare. And I just keep accumulating that too. XDC, so this one swept the low all the way down here, slowly building up, holding up, which is a good sign. So it's just a liquidity grab, taking out some traders, and then they're gonna ramp up things once again. So they're about to continue this overall trend once again. So, XDC still looking good, even with this little liquidity grab over here. H bar looking good as well. Didn't come sweep the low, but instead just swept this one right here, but still holding up pretty well. Um, yeah, this one also just holding up, ready for this next push higher. So, maybe look back then in November, this happened in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. We got 3 weeks this month left in this month. So we'll see what we could get the next 3 weeks. If we don't get much, then, they'll probably just turn it up in quarter three, more than likely. But regardless, we're still on a trend to the upside. So not much has changed. Now, sell, this actually fell to the downside a bit last week. So we hit this area. We hit the zone, came down, hit this one, came down, went consolidated, and now we swept this low. Then we swept this low. So, as you can see, this was a zone that I've had here, and this is literally a demand zone all the way from the top that's controlling this overall move. So we finally hit that and we got a reaction out of it. We're basically still within an accumulation range over here. It's just, we're just playing games for the most part. It's just playing games. But this does look like it's finally preparing. It was pretty deceptive over here. Hit this one, came down, hit this one, came down, went sideways on the top of the zone, and then came back down here. So we'll see if this can pick up some steam in the coming weeks, but still at a good spot to buy. It's a high risk, high reward opportunity. That has not changed, but this is a great buy right here. But remember, it's high risk, high reward. So, just be careful. Do not invest more than what you're willing to lose. But if you're willing to risk a lot to possibly make a lot as well, then I believe this is one of those that can be a silent winner. As when things do decide to wake up. Because as you can see in the past, look, it's quiet, 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 and then it just wakes up literally in a matter of weeks. This is weekly candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Over 500, over 700% in 5 weeks. And then it did the same thing here. Quiet, 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 and then boom. Look, one candle straight out of this zone. And that's where we're at right now again. We just hit this zone again. And this is the base of this push. So what is that? We just came all the way back down to a demand zone, and we can likely get a push straight out of the zone. And look, this candle went from 25 cents to 68 cents in 1 week. So still got 3 weeks in June. So this can easily happen still, but I can't predict when this gonna happen, but that's just what I see from the overall macro picture. If you take a look at this chart and take this off, this is how it looked before that push. And nobody probably wanted to buy this because it wasn't being talked about. And then it pushed, and then people probably started talking about it. And then if you take a look at how we look now, it looks very similar. We were all the way back down into a demand zone. So still at a pretty good spot and just a high risk, high reward opportunity. Pretty cheap right now. So all right. What's the weekly GFI? So this last week fell a bit. Still holding up, still holding up. So this fell a bit with the rest of the market last week. Let's see, we haven't swept this high, so we just swept these highs right here. So I could see this accumulating within these ranges until it, eventually wakes up. So it still can just accumulate a bit more, fall a bit more, sweep some more lows, just like XDC did. That is possible. So, but this is another like low market cap coin that it gets very aggressive once it wakes up. So, I do believe that this is gonna be one that the same way it did over here, like it was quiet and then it just woke up. It'll likely eventually just give us a nice candle straight over $1.50 and then just, continue moving to the upside. DMTR, this one as well, just consolidating on this overall range. Not much has changed. Um, another one that I believe is gonna wake up with aggression once it does, because it's a low market cap coin. C pool, so C pool, where were we last week? June 2nd, right here. So, I did mention we were within a demand zone and we actually hit it. We should have, we could have either reacted to this area or swept this low and then reacted, but it ended up reacting to this area, and now we're headed right back to the upside. So not looking too bad. Um, that's just how you have to look at it. Look at the overall range. It's just accumulating. They're just going up and down, building positions until eventually go to the upside. Same thing Sell is doing, same thing GFI is doing. We're just within accumulation ranges. All right. Render. So this as well, for the most part, just ranging sideways. Did sweep this low right here and then turned around. So more than likely that is like an is getting ready to continue to the upside. But this is another one just overall accumulating within these ranges. So I do believe we're gonna get some strong candles from many assets in the coming weeks and months. So yeah, all this slow price action is gonna get, engulfed by one strong candle eventually. That's just how it is. And last but not least, we got Ply, same thing, just it ended up sweeping the low, and now we're just slowly gearing right back up to head higher. So, this has definitely it's another low market cap as well. It has not gone past this point down here, and it has actually made a very similar move. I discussed this last week. How you see how it sweeps the low and then it wakes up. Well, we just swept the low and then we should be waking up. So this is a good sign that it's reacting like this and still holding up as long as it's not, falling after sweeping it. So we'll see if we can gain some more traction from this one as well. Let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. You see, so this is still just continuing to show strength. It just does not want to go to the downside just yet. That's why I've been saying it's likely that the Bitcoin dominance heads. It can either break this high once again, the same way it did over here. So you see how we slowly rise. It's gonna break. It's heading towards the high. So let's see if it's gonna break the high again, or if we're gonna come up here above 65.95%. So we'll probably hit 66, maybe even, 66 and a half, and then fall. So we're getting close. It should happen within the next few weeks. This is a monthly candle. So we're already inside of there. So we'll see. But I definitely believe that, this is very soon preparing to turn back to the downside. So we'll see what we could get. Let's look at every single time frame real quick. This is the 4 month. Nope. 6 months. Nope. We'll see how we look by the end of June. We'll see how we look because one thing the market can do is right now it's inside of this white box. We'll see if this candle ends up closing outside of this white box, and then this ends up being a wick. And then next 6 month candle will open up and come right back inside of the white box. I'm gonna leave that white box there. It'll come back into it, and then it'll go to the downside. Very similar to what the DXY did. So look up here. Go to the 4 month and basically like this. It came inside this black box and rejected it and then went to the downside. So that's very possible. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure it's lining up or something pretty soon because nothing goes up forever. So the dominance is gonna take a hit eventually. That's all I got for this video though. If you have any questions, let me know and peace. Have a great week.